Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another episode of Myth-Busting Mondays. And for today's episode, for the final myth, we are going to be seeing whether or not it's possible to be literally invincible in a certain room on Dead Air. There is a meat freezer that is going to end up being on Chapter 2 that supposedly it makes you immortal to everything in the game. That's a big doozy, so I'm looking forward to testing that out and seeing if that's actually true or not. If you guys are looking forward to the final myth as well, please make sure you drop a like. But yeah, guys, I hope you end up enjoying this week's episode of Myth-Busting Mondays. Myth: can at least one helicopter destroy a tank rock with its blades? Alrighty guys, so myth number 1 is submitted by Glopursko. Now I want to address something very quickly here at the beginning of the episode. This myth right here is the most divisive that I have had in the entire series. I know that sounds stupid, but hear me out. Dan, Nitwit, and myself believe that the myth is busted. Tyler and Glopursko believe it's at the very least plausible, and Glopursko specifically is leaning more towards the side of confirmed, and I will show you guys why that we all have different opinions. This is primarily what me, Dan, and Nitwit were noticing, is this example right here, where the tank rock would go through the helicopter blades, and then it would only end up breaking if it collided with a player, which is why that I, in my opinion, think it's busted. This is the examples of what Tyler and Glopursko were referring to when they said that it broke. By the way, I also do apologize about the quality of Tyler's POV. He wasn't recording this particular night, he was just sharing his screen, so this is all the footage I have from Tyler's end. But what you can see is these frames right here, where the tank rock does indeed look like it's breaking because the blade lines up with the pixels for the rock throw. So me, Dan, and Nitwit think it's busted. Tyler and Glopursko at least think it's plausible and most likely confirmed. And that's okay. We can all have different opinions, even amongst our own group. So this is what I'm going to say to make this the most fair. I'm labeling it at plausible, even though I don't agree. This is the reason why. Specifically in Glopursko's myth, we only tested one single helicopter. There's other helicopter models within the game. We tested the Parish one specifically. Because we only tested the Parish one, and none of the 5 of us thought to think of testing another one to prove either one of our points further, we don't have a conclusive amount of evidence to say it's either way. So really what I'm going to use is plausible as a way of saying that I acknowledge that it exists, but technically we can't prove it either way. So, some of us think it's busted, some of us think it's confirmed, so you guys get to decide in the comments down below, and majority rule will most likely win. Myth: can you hit a decapitated head with a golf club? Okay, myth 2 is submitted in by Tyler. Now, originally at first, I thought that Tyler was wanting to know if you could play golf with the zombie head, because you're hitting it with a golf club and it rolls around on the ground. But he was just wondering if you could just hit it in general. It just so happened he gave a golf club as an example, but he really just wants to know if you can hit it with anything. And as you guys can see from the footage you just saw, it is confirmed. You indeed can hit a zombie head with a golf club and basically move it around. Myth: can a hunter break a smoker's tongue by scratching it? Alrighty guys, so myth 3 is submitted in by Lee Everett. So guys, we had to have 5 people to realistically do this with the means that we had. So we have myself being the test subject, and then I have Tyler and Nitwit trying to keep the other special infected off of us because we had to do this in normal versus mode. Dan is going to be the smoker, and Glopursko is going to end up being the hunter for the following myth. Here is the footage of the myth. Dan grabs me with his smoker's tongue, while Glopursko is trying to hit me with his hunter claws. You guys can see that the cursor is lined up perfectly and is not breaking. Which means that the third myth of today's episode is busted. You can't screw over your teammates and try to set a survivor free, even though technically you can just go up to the smoker and end up just punching him to death and still basically do the same thing. But for some reason you can't do it via the tongue method. Myth: are you able to kill a witch with a chainsaw after you anger her? Alrighty guys, myth 4 is submitted in by a true winner 1. Now this myth is in the context that if you've already shot the witch and she is running at you, ready to kill you, can you use the chainsaw at that point to save your life? Because for those that don't already know this, you can just walk up to a idle witch and just chainsaw her and kill her immediately. So what happens when she's fighting back? Would you win? So here's going to be the first example. I am shooting the witch and switching immediately to a chainsaw, And you're going to think, based off of this gameplay result, that when I end up fighting the witch here, that it's busted because she ends up downing me. However, Dan thought of an idea that allows us to be able to make a loophole. Dan ended up throwing a pipe bomb at a witch, so that way she still gets pissed, but she actually gets stuck in a stun lock, so that way he can be able to end up chainsawing her, and she sort of can't defend herself. So by a technicality, this myth is confirmed, but I would understand if you would want to call this plausible. You would just have to shoot her and then stun her with the pipe bomb and then chainsaw her immediately right after, but honestly, that's really complicated. It's unlikely to happen. Alrighty guys, it's time for the final myth, and once again it is going to be, if you go into the meat freezer that is just out of the safe room on Chapter 2 of Dead Air, will you be essentially invincible to anything while you're in there? Would Special Infected basically not be able to kill you? So let's move on to the final myth of the episode and see if it is true. Myth: will the meat freezer on Chapter 2 of Dead Air make you invincible? The final myth is submitted in by Zoe, and I'm pretty sure you guys know this infamous room here on Dead Air. I am now going to spawn in one of every Special Infected and close the door and see if they can break in. So minus the jockey that ended up spawning in here just because of an accident, but I spawned in a tank, a charger, boomer, etc. And you guys can see their arms trying to get through the door, but they cannot knock it down. They are just stuck. Now there are some exceptions to this door. If you walk right up to the door, you will be punched through it. And if you also end up blowing up a boomer, the vomit will also go through the door. However, though, you will not be damaged as long as you're in the back corner. So that means that the final myth of today's episode is confirmed. This meat freezer here that is on Dead Air will basically make you invincible to anything as long as you are not stupid. Alrighty guys, but that is going to be it here for today's episode of Myth Busting Mondays. I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. We are super close to 4,000 subscribers and the 100th episode of Myth Busting Mondays. So if you guys want to make sure you don't miss episode 100 here in 2 weeks, make sure you also subscribe. And by the way, when I do hit 4K, I will also upload a video of me playing Japanese Left 4 Dead 2 with my friends, so make sure you're also on the lookout for that video as well. It's just so crazy to know that these milestones will most likely happen back to back. And I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you guys for your support on the channel and also the series. This specific series was just meant to end up being a little hobby for me, and it's now become one of my favorite things to do. So, once again, thank you. It means a lot to me. But yeah, guys, I hope you end up enjoying this week's episode of Myth Busting Mondays, and I do truly hope you guys end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTubers we're ever going to see. Thanks for watching, guys, all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords. Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the Eternal God Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!